Hi, welcome to the small shed. This Saturday we're starting to get back into the odd weekend videos, and I thought I'd start off by showing you what we've been up to in the garden at the beginning of this year. So at the beginning of the year it was time to start and wake the garden up for spring. A number of things to do, so I went out to have a look. My wife had given me a couple of little jobs. There was a tree at the back, or a small shrub, that needed a stake putting in to get it upright. There's a few bulbs to plant that hadn't got done at the end of last year that we thought might stand a fighting chance if we got them done. So I went and had a look around. I couldn't find anything to get a stake. So I had a scout up the side of the house, found myself a couple of bits of timber. In the end I think I ended up in the shed finding something that would be suitable. It hadn't got to last long, but it just needed to get the thing supported and sticking upright so that we could get it at least pointing in the right direction. Unfortunately, we had a back end of the year when we normally get a few things done in the garden that we didn't get a chance to get out there because of all the other stuff that was going on. I popped into the garage next and got some of the cable ties that I've got some rubber ones that are, or a flexible plastic, I'm not sure which are ideal for putting around things like that. They'll give it a little bit of movement but don't chafe on the stem. So I've dug those out. Essentially it's just a matter of bashing the stake in with a big hammer just to get us on the right track. And amongst everything else, when you go out and start on something like this, you uncover a whole load of things that will need doing this year, and it sort of sets the scene for getting things planned. The top patio needs, well, it needs a lot of the slabs taking up and relaying, but in fact I think subsequent to the work I've done, my wife is talking about putting a bigger border up there, and we want to put a patio down lower close by the house, so there may be a bit of moving of slabs as well, taking them out and relaying them, but certainly some of them need bedding in. And there's a couple of fence panels at the top which are looking a bit poorly. The back fence isn't ours, so I don't have to worry too much about that, but there is one on the left hand side of the garden at the top, an infill that I cut a panel down many years ago, and that needs a new panel putting in there. So I'm going to have a go at making a fence panel at some point in the near future. But at least we've got the shrub sorted, going upright in the right direction, and hopefully sorted. Packed everything up, and then of course, as with all these things, you then start to notice other things. The archway that goes up onto that top patio was looking a bit suspect, and sure enough I think the shrubs are holding the arch up, which is not the way around it should be, I don't think. So I'd got a mental note to sort that out in some way, shape or form. And then we got all these bulbs to plant, which, as I say, had been purchased last year and should have been put in before the winter really, but the general feeling is that if they get in, they give a chance, we'll have a chance of them coming up this year, even if they're a bit late. So I've just chucked them around and planted them in. This is all new to me, this stuff. I normally do the heavy digging and the civil engineering stuff, whereas my wife does all the pretty stuff, but at the moment she's still not quite up to bending over and stretching and reaching, or certainly at that stage wasn't up to doing that. She's now back in doing quite a lot more in the garden, and essentially all I was trying to do was just get these things in before it was too late and we lost them altogether. But you can see the whole garden really wants quite a lot of work even at that stage. But bear in mind, this is probably, I think it was mid-February, early to mid-February this was, so it may even been back as far as January. I'm not sure now, it's such a long while back it seems. But we got these things in, and at least then it gives it a chance of the bulbs coming up. Fast forward a couple of months and things have started to come up. The place is looking a bit smarter, new growth coming out. You start to feel a lift in the spirits, and the whole top area now, we've had a couple of days, both of us, of sorting stuff out, moving shrubs around, but it was time to deal with that archway, which needed dealing with fairly rapidly because stuff was starting to come into growth, and either we had to repair it or replace it. And in the end I found quite a nice arch up at our local garden centre, and as it was coming up to wedding anniversary time, it seemed a suitable sort of thing to buy rather than all the usual stuff that you buy that you don't really know is going to be any use or not, because after 40 plus years, nearly 50 years, you run out of things to buy because everybody's got what they want. So I've had to essentially just cut the whole thing down in sections, because the shrubs that were up it were all wrapped around it. They're clematis and things like that, honeysuckle, that are wrapped around, and you either cut them off at the root and start again and wait a year for stuff to grow, or in this case I've just literally cut this thing into pieces. It was cheap and nasty in the first place. It was just thin wall metal tube with a powder coating on it that wasn't really designed to last. And so I've just cut it into sections and pulled all the shrubs gently off it, and then when we get the new one back up we can just quietly tie them back in on the outside, and they'll start and get a grip on it from there. This new one is solid bar rather than hollow, and it came in 4 sections. There's an arch made out of 2 pieces and 2 side pieces that the arch sits on, and the difference being that the old one used to go into the garden, and this is going to be sitting on the actual step area. So it's going to need some sort of fixing to get it to remain stable, but it's far more substantial and should withstand time a bit better than, and weather a bit better than the old one did. And as ever, you find more jobs the more you do. I set this thing out and set it up on the step, and that's pointed out to me the fact that all the pointing on the step is falling out, so that's going to need doing as well. It's the usual story. You do one job and you get 3 more become apparent afterwards. Just been setting out with using the top as a locator for the side pieces. Gave me a rough idea where they got to go. I've propped it up loosely on the side pieces until I got it roughly right and upright. And all I've done then is just drilled a couple of holes on each side with a little ryobi drill, just to mark where they go, and then move them out the way and put it on hammer and use a masonry drill. A couple of plugs. There's no great load on this, there's no huge need for massive screws or anything, it just needs something to locate it. So once the screws were in, I've just put a couple of washers under each side just to spread the load a bit. We'll see how they go. They're stainless steel, so they should be okay, and they'll be hidden ultimately behind pots and things. Once that was up and rigid enough and stable enough, I've just tied all of the existing shrubbery back up, so that at least this year we've got a start for the things to be growing up it, and a matter of a couple of weeks on it seems to be taking a hold and getting the whole thing up as if it had never been changed. Right, so that's got a lot of the sort of heavy digging and moving stuff around work done that my wife wasn't able to do, that she normally gets into, and we've put the new arch up for her, so hopefully that's got the foundations laid for the rest of the year, and she can do other stuff to suit herself really from then on. I'll still be needed, I think, to move the heavy things around, but hopefully I can take a bit of a back seat again now. Hope the video was of interest. Look forward to seeing you next time. See you then. Bye.